Hello, I'm constitutional attorney Katherine Henry, and welcome to this week's Friday's Freedom Fighting Tools segment. This week, our full episode was actually an extensive interview with Michigan Attorney General candidate Ryan Berman. We talked about a lot of different cases, but we started the conversation talking about the rights of criminal defendants in the state of Michigan. And it seems important to make sure that although it is the prosecutor's job to ensure that your rights as a defendant in a case are preserved and protected, it is their job as prosecutor to do that. All too often that doesn't happen. So this week I wanted to give you some additional tools so that you can ensure that your rights are preserved, that you can defend your own rights. So with that being said, and please keep in mind that, my constitutional amendment would have done away with all this, a vast majority of the need for these resources, because these rules and orders and things of that nature would have been far less complex. There would have been less that the various branches of government would have been allowed to put in place, but that didn't happen. So these are the things that we need to be aware of. So with that being said, I'm going to share with you now. Let's see, I'll do a little bit bigger screen for you to be able to see. Not sure. Yep. It's not going to really help us any. I'm going to zoom in on this the best I can here. The first resource is, depending on where you see it in social media or whatnot, it's in italics, because the first one is one that we've talked about before. I want to say it might have been January, but the Michigan Rules of Professional Conduct. And it's something that is helpful for you to know, especially if you have an attorney on the other side who is going against you, whether it's a prosecutor or whether it's you're just being sued in a civil case. You need to know what their obligations and duties are. And this has, some basically the table of contents over here as well as here. You can jump around to different sections. It's very important, and it's a resource that I wanted to remind you of again. But specifically for this week, I also wanted to give you model criminal jury instructions. If you are being charged with a crime, whether you have an attorney or not, you need to know that there will come a time, if you have selected to have a jury and not a judge decide your guilt or not. There are, when it's put in front of a jury, there are a set of instructions that are given to the jury by the judge, and the parties have their right to have a say in what those instructions are, what they look like, which instructions are even introduced. And obviously, if you're trying to think of, well, what would I want the jury to know? If you're starting from scratch with a blank slate, that's going to be extremely hard to do. So what this does, this gives you the model criminal jury instructions. So the set of jury instructions that happen in every single kind of case. It's broken down. I wasn't going to open it, but I'll go ahead and do that so you see what I'm talking about. So there's a table of contents. You can click on each section. Let's say you want to know, the rights of challenges to selecting jurors. If you think a certain juror would not be fair, then you could see what the instruction is that the judge should be giving to the jury about being excused because somebody has essentially challenged that juror. If you're looking for information on, well, goodness, I was charged with a crime, but I think, I had the right to be there, or I had the right to have that property, or whatever the case may be. Peruse these table of contents and see what's here. This is claim of right. So you'll see this is the set of instructions that should be given in a situation. It even goes and talks about, gives you cases where these particular instructions have been discussed. So it is a very helpful tool. It goes through all kinds of different crimes. It goes through defenses. There's the mens rea, the state of mind, what the prosecutor would have to prove, what the rules are about witnesses or evidence, the procedure. There's a lot of stuff in here that would be very important. So at any rate, it's important to take a look at what's there. If you are going to represent yourself, or even if you're going to have an attorney, check this out, because you might find something in there that your attorney missed. It happens. All right, so the next is the Michigan Legal Help. This is not exactly from the court. It is and it isn't, but it's put on by the Michigan State Bar Foundation and the Michigan Supreme Court and the Legal Services Corporation. It's essentially a partnership, I suppose. Anyway, all kinds of information. So when you are representing yourself and you need information on family cases or PPOs, housing matters, debt collection, income tax, you're charged with a crime, you need help with putting an estate plan in place, having a will or power of attorney. You have issues with your child's education and need to know about students' rights or special education laws, things like that. Anyway, all these kinds of things. I haven't vetted all the information that's in here, but there's a ton of information, and it's a resource I at least wanted to let you know about. The next one is from the Michigan Judicial Institute, which is essentially an administrative branch of the Supreme Court of Michigan. And this is for their bench books. Bench books are essentially the instructions to judges on how to handle certain cases, what to do when they're literally sitting there on the bench. And so you'll see this is Bench Books and Sentencing Guidelines Manual. Selections, you can see there's adoption and appeals. That would be an important one. Child protective proceedings, civil proceedings, like if you sue somebody because of a breach of contract or a landlord-tenant issue. There's a contempt of court bench book, controlled substances, crime victims. Sorry. My Google's telling me it's time to eat. Anyway, oh goodness, now my phone's doing it too. All right. There's a criminal proceedings bench book, volume 1 and volume 2. They have different things in them. Oh, volume 3, I forgot about that one. They have different things, and they're valuable for different stages of the case. A district court magistrate manual, domestic violence. I could go on and on. There's a ton in here. Take that one look. Don't just find the one that you think might be helpful and only look at that. Look at all of them first. Give yourself a list of which ones you think might be relevant, and then take the time to look at each one of those individually, looking at their table of contents and seeing if you think something would be relevant. So you don't have to read everything in all of them. You just essentially look at the table of contents or the list of the books available and go from there, narrowing it down. And once you find the ones that you think based on their table of contents and their title might be helpful, then you start reading a little bit more in detail. The last one is administrative orders. What are these? These are like executive orders, but they come from the court. So they're things about their rules and their procedures on everything that happened with the COVID shutdowns, the way that they were shutting down courts, for how long and what circumstances, to, reminders to judges about ADA accommodations and how to handle that even with everything that's happening now. But you can see there's an online link and then just a straight PDF link. When you do look at them, man, there is a table of contents. So you could see there's a subject matter index. So it's telling you the different subjects and what page you can find them on. And one thing that I do, though, I do Control F when I have it open. If there's something I want to look for, let's say I want information about a pre-trial conference that's going to happen. Type in pre-trial and hit this little arrow button, and it'll take you to all the times in the document where pre-trial is written in there. That's going to be honestly one of the best, fastest ways to search for the topics that you're concerned about. So that is a quick overview of everything that we have for resources for this week, but those are this week's freedom fighting tools. I hope you find them valuable and you at least bookmark them or download them, even if you don't feel like you need them this week. You never know. All right, everyone. Thanks so much for tuning in today. This has been the Friday's Freedom Fighting Tools, and I am constitutional attorney Katherine Henry. Have a great week.